Avengers Endgame, the 22nd film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, several years in the making. What a movie! I was blown away. This review is going to be full spoilers. I'm just going to talk about everything and my thoughts on everything. If you haven't seen this movie, trust me, it is very good. However, this is not the best standalone movie. This movie works best if you've seen all of the Marvel movies or at least have seen Infinity War, because it is a sort of a direct sequel to Infinity War. So works less good as a standalone film, but as a celebration of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, what a movie. What a series finale this film is. This movie is directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, and they've helmed a lot of the past Avengers and Marvel movies, and this is sort of their magnum opus and sort of end cap of everything. So let's talk about various aspects of this movie. First, let's start with the length at 3 hours, which when I was booking my tickets, I was like, 3 hours? What? Is this a typo? Is this some sort of weird special fan event that has like bonus features? And then I Googled around and I was like, no, it's 3 hours long. That's crazy, but it made me more excited to see it. And the length totally does not affect you in the movie. It's still, you're constantly entertained throughout, despite the longer length of it. A lot of people talking about when is the best time to go to the bathroom and concerned about that. I was too, because holding it in for 3 hours can sometimes be a little bit of a daunting task. And when I showed up at the movie, I had to sort of climb over people to get to my seat, and I really did not want to have to climb back over them midway through the movie and then have to come back. I hate being one of those people. I was able to sit through the entire movie though, and the length is good. The length is fine. I really liked how in the movie, in the first half, everyone is really sad and sort of dealing with the aftermath of Infinity War, how Thanos disappeared half the world, and everyone has to now cope with that, whether it's Hawkeye traveling the world, killing a whole bunch of people, or Black Widow sort of leading the Avengers and sort of coordinating various tasks, or Iron Man sort of settling down with Pepper Potts finally and having a kid. I love this scene with Captain America where he's at a support group and sort of working out his feelings there. This is probably the most human the Avengers have ever felt in a movie, which was great. Really like bringing out their humanity and sort of like there's, even though they have these fantastical powers, they are sort of like real people with real problems, and they are having trouble dealing with this situation. And fantastic stuff, really emotional stuff. Let's talk about Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, and this sort of change they made with him, where he was able to sort of do sort of like a crossbreed between Bruce Banner and Hulk, and he was able to sort of be the Hulk, but be smart and be able to talk normally, but he's not as sort of ferocious and angry as he is normally as the Hulk. And I really thought this was an interesting way for the Hulk's character to go, and sort of in the aftermath of Infinity War, and sort of change his personality. And I thought it worked fine. In the comics, they're constantly changing what the deal with the Hulk is, and the different rules with him, whether he's the Gray Hulk or the Green Hulk or the Immortal Hulk. So I think that was fine, and I liked it. I liked Fat Thor. I know some people were a little bit mixed on Fat Thor, but I thought it was funny, man. I love the funny kind of Thor that is sort of struggling to deal with his emotions, and hilarious. He's just hanging out and he's playing Fortnite and he's drinking a lot of beer, and he has a big gut on him, and that's funny stuff, man. I loved it. Okay, let's go into the time travel premise now. So they finally figure out this whole time travel scheme to potentially save the world, and Ant-Man in combination with Iron Man and Hulk sort of develop this machine using the Pym particles to sort of travel back in time to the various movies, and the plan is to collect the Infinity Stones and sort of bring them back to the future, wish everyone back to that time, and then sort of put the stones back. And it is very science fiction-y, but I thought this was a really fun idea to explore, and also to sort of celebrate all these Marvel movies by revisiting them and sort of exploring those movies, but from a different angle. And that stuff was just really, really fun. One great moment is when Captain America is in the elevator with all of the Hydra people, and of course, when you go back in that movie initially, we didn't know they were all Hydra at the time, but now Captain America has that future knowledge, and he wants the case as one of the Infinity Stones, and he whispers "Hail Hydra" to them, and they're like, "Oh, you're working for us? Okay, sure." And he's able to sort of maneuver that situation without having to fight through everybody, and that was so good, so funny. We have the scene with Thor on Asgard, and he's talking to his mom. That was great. We have Captain America, Iron Man, and Hulk sort of back in that battle for New York we saw in one of the earlier Avengers films. That stuff was great. Yeah, fantastic stuff. I love the time jumping. I love the Back to the Future moments there. Finally, when the Avengers sort of get all the stones they need, and they come back to the current day, and they bring everyone who Thanos killed back alive, and then Thanos is back as well. It's the alternate version of Thanos, and he's coming to attack the Avengers, and then we lead into this epic, epic battle with Thanos, all of his forces, and all of the Avengers. And like, what a amazing battle scene where Doctor Strange starts opening all these portals, and everybody starts pouring out, and like everybody's there from like every Marvel movie you've ever seen: Captain Marvel, the Black Panther people, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, like everybody. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. And you get this like Lord of the Rings type battle with all these superheroes and all of Thanos' people, and it is just so freaking cool. Amazing. Amazing battle. Some people say it was a little too blatant with its fan servicey moments here, shoving everybody in and having like one scene with like all the women, and you see all of them, and then various people showing up. But I mean, whatever, man. Like, fans have watched 20 of these movies. If you have to give them a little fan service moments, that's totally cool. Speaking of fan service moments, you got Captain America holding Thor's hammer and using that. So like, that was great stuff. And finally, when they defeat Thanos, it is super badass. Thanos is like the toughest villain I've ever seen in a movie. So good. And, the threat to the universe is just so huge. And you really feel the impact of Thanos fighting everybody and how difficult he is to overcome. And when they finally do it, like, you can't help but like be excited by that and cheer for that. So yeah, lots of good stuff here. Let's talk about the character deaths, though. Let's talk about how my thoughts on these people we're not going to see anymore, really. So first is Black Widow. So Black Widow and Hawkeye are on this planet Vomir, and they're talking to the Red Skull, and they have to sacrifice one of themselves to get the Soul Stone. Which one thing is that they were strategically picking which Avengers were going to go to get which stone, and it's kind of odd that they chose these two humans that have no real abilities and send them out to space, probably one of the most dangerous stones to collect. And everyone knows what they have to do to get this Soul Stone. They have to sacrifice someone. So what were they thinking that how they would get this stone? They didn't really plan that out. It was kind of just planned out for the movie so that one of the characters would die, and then they have this competing contest for each of them trying to commit suicide, which I didn't really love. But whatever, though. I mean, at least when Black Widow dies here, it really means something. I know some people were saying that there's there's only so many female superheroes. Why did it have to be Black Widow versus Hawkeye? But in a way, isn't that question sexist as well? Why can't it be Black Widow versus Hawkeye? Just because she's a woman, she can't sacrifice herself? But regardless, I guess it was still a good sort of ending for her as a character. And Hawkeye, he has his family to go back to, so he has in some ways like more to live for back in the real world. So that's my thoughts on that death. Going over to Tony Stark, Iron Man dying. That was pretty sad, but in a way, the Marvel Cinematic Universe sort of started with Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in Iron Man 1, so it seems fitting that it would sort of end with him. And in a way, we're coming full circle now, so I'm kind of for that death. And I would love to see Robert Downey Jr. some more, but I think it totally did work in the context of the movie. Now, and then going over to Captain America now, who didn't die, but he went back in time and he didn't come back forward in time. He ended up just living his life in real time, coming back to the current day and aging, and now he's an old man. And he does have a nice story arc where when he went back in time, he finally got to live his life with Peggy Carter and live that happy domestic life. And now he's this old man. Once again, I would still love to have Steve Rogers as Captain America continue onwards and Chris Evans be in that role. But once again, it is a nice ending for his character, and as a series finale for these Marvel movies, it once again does work. And he sort of passes on his shield to Falcon, and Falcon is going to be the new Captain America in the future. So once again, we're coming full circle here, and I thought that ending did work. I am not excited to see Falcon as Captain America, though. I don't really want to see that, but nevertheless, it works in the context of this movie. I also love that this movie decided not to do a post-credit scene, and I was like, yes, that is the correct choice. This is a series finale. What are you going to do? Tease the next Spider-Man film? No, it's not the right place to do that. So I was very happy they decided not to do that. And also, I knew I could leave and not have to sit there for like 10, 15 minutes after sitting there for 3 hours. So I did appreciate that, but I thought it was the right choice as well. Now, one kind of negative is that there are probably some plot holes in this. Like, I'm trying not to analyze the plot holes too intensely. I'm trying not to be too nitpicky. I'm just trying to enjoy it. But there's probably some stuff out there that doesn't exactly make sense if you really think about it. But whatever, man. Get over that stuff. I think my main negative is that this is probably the greatest Marvel movie we're ever gonna get. Nothing is going to top this. Nothing is going to be as epic as this movie is. And it's very sad in a way. We have Iron Man off the board, we have Captain America off the board, and we have this epic high of this movie. And we can only go downhill from here because they're going to keep making movies. I almost wish they would not make any more Marvel movies because this is almost the perfect ending. But of course, they are going to make more Marvel movies, but it's sad because this movie is really kind of like the end of an era, the end of all of these things that we watched over all these years. So a little part of me was sad about it, but still, nevertheless, I'm saying this is a great film. I don't know if it's my favorite Marvel movie. I think it is in a way. It's not great as a standalone film, but as the conclusion to all of these films, fantastic. I'm gonna give this movie a 10 out of 10, and I rarely give perfect scores. So yeah, great stuff.